Time for the School of Roch. Roch Kabatko joins us for his weekly appearance, and he is in his Sunday best. I don't like it when the guest shows up.
Today,
How
Jimmy.
about that, man? We got to get some photos of this guy.
Mama Roch is so proud of him today. Look at the pocket square. I donated, but he looks great. You look great.
Sir. Thanks for taking care of me.
Well, the Orioles sent Jeremy Guthrie to the mound today. Chris Tillman promoted yesterday. You know, the young pitching in the organization, there is a theory that you shouldn't have too many young pitchers, but one of the things I like about how the organization is handling that is there really is kind of a competition between them. And Jake Arrieta, leading the International League in AAA, he's not too far behind.
Exactly. I want to thank Chris Tillman just for getting me excited about yesterday's game. I actually stayed indoors. I didn't change the channel. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't order pay-per-view where the title doesn't appear on your bill. I concentrated strictly on Chris Tillman's performance. Huge for him to try and get back into being an established major leaguer. It's his time now. But more importantly for the Orioles, they desperately need Chris Tillman to establish himself. We already know that Eric Bedard trade looks a heck of a lot better if he's here instead of Norfolk. But beyond that, Andy McPhail's plan blows up on our faces if these young pitchers don't establish themselves, if the cavalry gallops out of town. And we're talking because they don't want to have to spend a lot of money on free agent pitchers. They have trouble getting them to come here. So we're talking about this plan sending around Tillman, Mattis, Bergeson, Arrieta, Hernandez, whatever his role is, Britton, maybe Irby, maybe Patton. So it was a big deal for Tillman, and this is the reason we watch these games now, besides watching you guys in the pre and post, of course, is to see, is Tillman going to be established now? Will Mattis go back to being Brian Mattis? Can Bergeson build on his start? And, you know, what will Tillman do now at this point forward? And Arrieta, as you mentioned, a 1.86 ERA. He's knocking down the door right now in AAA, and I guess the biggest problem the Orioles we would hope would have was how do you make room for this guy? So every Tillman start is big right now, and you hope they do develop that big surplus of pitching, which is what the plan is, too, because then maybe, even though Andy McPhail's hesitant to do this, maybe you go ahead and package a few of them to get a big bat into this lineup because we know the problems the offense has had. This offense gives me a rash right now. So we really need a big bat in here. But right now, it's just nice to have these kids, we hope, pushing each other and establishing themselves here.
Roch, you know, the Orioles are looking for some consistency out of the back of that bullpen. One of the guys that has come into question as of late is Alberto Castillo.
Yes.
He seems to be struggling a lot.
I know. I've been joking all the time that I don't think that they actually send Castillo to Norfolk when they option him. He just hides somewhere in Camden Yards and then he jumps out and they give him a jersey and he pitches again. But I'll tell you what, he may get detained at LaGuardia. I don't know if he's coming back to Baltimore. I mean, the numbers are striking. An 11.74 ERA in 12 games, 13 hits allowed in 7 2/3. He's given up 5 home runs. And here's the problem. He's your lefty specialist, and yet they're hitting 400 against him, 8 hits in 4 2/3 innings. 4 of the home runs he's allowed have come to left-handers. And, you know, he was brought in yesterday's game, as we know, to pitch to Overbay, and what happened? Immediately gives up a 2-run homer. Nothing special about this. So the problem with moving Will Ohm into the closer role, and I endorsed it, was that it did leave a big void when it came to the lefty specialist. Nobody's filling it. We know Castillo's roster spot's in jeopardy right now, but who takes his place as a lefty specialist coming up from Norfolk? There's really nobody. You want to look at Chris George. He's back in their rotation now with the Tides. We don't know if he's a matchup guy. You want Pedro Viola and his 17.65 ERA? I don't want it. And he's on the 40-man, which amazes me when fans say, how are we going to make room on the 40 if we bring up a non-roster guy? Here's my suggestion. It rhymes with Ledro Maiola. That's the guy I would get rid of. But otherwise, you got a bunch of righties who are non-roster guys like Wolf and Gabino. Dennis Surfate, again, not a lefty specialist, but a 1.32 ERA, 18 strikeouts and 13 2/3, and the league's batting, they're 6 for 47 against him. He's intriguing, mid to upper 90s fastball, but again, not a lefty. So do we just bag the whole lefty specialist thing and just bring up anybody who can get outs? If they throw with their feet, I don't care. Just somebody who can get hitters out. I don't care about matchups anymore, but there is no lefty specialist at Norfolk who's beating down the door to come up.
Well, I think what they ought to do is just put pitchers in the game and get outs and forget about having a closer because the Orioles have been having trouble getting to that 9th inning anyway. Exactly. Hey, if you're getting guys out, leave them in and don't worry about the matchup. So, Roch, always good to see him. Man, you look good. I'm very, very jealous.
Do I get to keep this?
Yes. Stay tuned now. Gary Thorne and Mike Flanagan are next. They'll have the play-by-play. O's trying to snap a 4-game losing streak and get one in Toronto before the road trip continues in New York.